आप सबको मेरा नमस्कार. I'm here for an important issue, and I think this issue needs to be talked about, it needs to be discussed, it needs to be put in perspective, and some very pertinent questions need to be asked of the central government. It's now been over 2 weeks since that very telling and very revealing interview of the former Jammu Kashmir Governor, Shri Satyapal Malik, came to light. There are various issues that interview has raised. He is not an ordinary citizen. He is not somebody whose word can be dismissed. He is somebody who was at the topmost constitutional position in Jammu and Kashmir when the Pulwama attacks had happened. And he says that these attacks could have been avoided, and it happened due to the negligence of the Modi government. 2 weeks have passed, but not a word from the Modi government. Conspicuously silent. And with all due respect to you, my friends in the media here, the national media doesn't say a word about it. And I just don't understand why. India's national media has chosen to completely gloss over that issue. I'm asking you, have you seen an interview of Satyapal Malik in any national daily or any national TV channel? And the answer to that is a no. And I'm wondering why. But before I say anything, I think there are many things about the Pulwama attack that happened on the 14th of February 2019 that have always been shrouded in secrecy, always been under suspicion. Why were the soldiers not airlifted? How did 300 kgs of RDX get stocked so close to the Indo-Pak border? Why were the arterial roads that led to the main road not blocked, not sanitized? Why did the government not give 5 aircraft? Why did they let the soldiers travel by road, especially when there were 11 intelligence inputs, there was a threat by the Jaish-e-Mohammed? And where is that DSP Devinder Singh? So there are multiple questions that exist, but I come to you to talk about this issue, and this issue is a little personal for me. This is not just something that I want to politicize, it's a little personal issue for me. I'm showing you here the photograph of 40 martyred soldiers. Soldiers whose lives could have been saved. If you see the second row here, and the first picture is of a soldier, a martyr called Pankaj Tripathi. He comes from the same place that I belong to, which is Maharajganj in Uttar Pradesh. And when this terror attack had happened, I was at his place and I saw his wailing parents, his pregnant wife, his toddler child, distraught with grief. So I have seen what this terror attack did to families. And which is why my question, why is the government still silent? I think the revolution that Mr. Satyapal Malik has made has completely shocked this country. People are finally asking the question that how did the government refuse to give 5 aircraft to over 2,500 soldiers who had to travel from Jammu to Srinagar? And he says, these are his words, and they have not been denied by either the Prime Minister or his office or the Defense Minister or the Home Minister. There is no denial to any statement that was made by Satyapal Malik. What has in fact happened is that the CBI has now called Satyapal Malik. He was detained by the Delhi police controlled by Amit Shah. This is a script. You ask them any uncomfortable question, you tell the world about their ugly truth, and you will face the might of their agencies. But what Satyapal Malik has categorically said, that our soldiers were denied 5 aircraft, and when he told this to the Prime Minister, he was asked to shut up. And in Hindi, the Prime Minister said, "Tum chup raho, you keep quiet." And which is why questions will be raised. And I just want to rewind a little to 14th Feb 2019. 14 Feb 2019 at about 3:15 p.m., this dastardly terror attack happened when a car full of 300 kgs of RDX rammed into one of the CRPF vehicles that was carrying 40 soldiers. They were all martyred at the spot. Please remember, there was not one vehicle. It was a convoy of 78 vehicles. Never before and never after have convoys like that traveled. It is only safe for those soldiers to have been airlifted. Those 5 aircraft should have been given. The Prime Minister orders 2 aircraft worth 8,000 crore rupees each for himself. And he does not find the money, the time, the resources to give our bravehearts 5 aircraft. But I want to rewind once again to 14th February 2019. 3:15 p.m., the dastardly terror attack happens. It's reported all over media. There's breaking news flashing on channels. 40 brave hearts martyred. I remember in UP, Priyanka Gandhi ji was made the General Secretary in charge of UP East. It was her first press conference in the UP Congress Committee office. She immediately cancelled her press conference, her first press conference, observed a 2-minute silence. Rahul Gandhi ji was supposed to meet delegates of G20 over a luncheon meeting. He cancelled that meeting. But you know what? For 2 hours after that meeting, Amit Shah continued to address election rallies. And you know what the Prime Minister of this country was doing? From 3:15 p.m. to 7 p.m. till 4 hours after the terror attack had happened, the Prime Minister was shooting Man versus Wild for Discovery TV at Corbett National Park with Bear Grylls. These are pictures. These are not pictures that I have got. These are pictures in the public domain. These are pictures that were put out by the PMO officials. And the first call that the Prime Minister made after he finished shooting, he did not cancel his shoot. He shot for 4 hours after the terror attack, and the first call he made at 7 p.m. to the Jammu Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik to ask what was wrong. The governor told him, "Sir, this is our fault. This could have been avoided had our martyrs, had our soldiers been given the aircraft." To which the Prime Minister tells the governor, "You shut up, you keep quiet for now." I want to just place some things on record here. And those some things are the burning questions that we are putting up. Because these are questions that we are no longer asking alone. These are questions that now the family of these martyrs are asking. Families are now saying that could our son, could our brother, could our husband, could our father have been saved had the government not been apathetic and cold and negligent? Because this is a colossal failure of the state. Our first question to the government is, why were the CRPF men not given aircraft when they were entitled for one? Why were they made to travel in a road convoy with 78 vehicles? Why did you not give the aircraft? Our second important question, there was a Jaish threat that was ignored. Between 2nd of January 2019 to the 13th of February, a day before the attack took place in 2019, there were 11 intelligence inputs that said an attack like this could happen. Why was those threats, why were those intelligence inputs ignored of this terror attack? Our third question, and this is a question that has been repeatedly asked, how did the militants procure such a huge stash of RDX? After a period of 4 years, I think people are still grappling with this question. How did a man get 300 kgs of RDX? And where is the report on Pulwama? It has been over 4 years. It's actually 4 years and 2 months to be precise. We do not know the report on Pulwama. How did the terror attack happen? Who was responsible? Who is going to be taken to task? About the RDX, about the convoy, about the aircraft. That's our third question. Our fourth important question is that Mr. Satyapal Malik who was told not just by the Prime Minister to keep shut, but also by the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval. What action has been taken against Ajit Doval? When will questions be asked? When will clarity be sought? When will answers be asked of Ajit Doval, India's National Security Advisor, and also then Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Rajnath Singh? Our fifth important question is, why did the Prime Minister ask a man sitting on the topmost constitutional position of Jammu and Kashmir then to keep quiet? Why was he made to keep silent? Why was he made to not talk about this issue? And I want to ask, if this is not treason, then what is? Martyr of 40 soldiers could have been avoided. And who's saying this? Not India's opposition, definitely not India's media, not somebody else, not a third party, but a man you made governor for 4 states: Goa, Meghalaya, Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir. A man considered to be a close confidant of Narendra Modi. A man you thought was a man capable enough to be at a constitutional position of the states that I have mentioned, of a state like Jammu and Kashmir. And today, almost 10 days later, there is no word from the Prime Minister's office. If Mr. Satyapal Malik is not telling the truth, file a defamation case against him. And if he is telling the truth, then please answer the collective conscience of this country, which is asking you pertinent questions on this matter. Threatening Mr. Malik, summoning him to CBI, detaining him by the Delhi police is not going to help. We need answers, and those answers need to be sought. And I want to put in public domain something which is also very important. Please remember, Mr. Satyapal Malik, who is now talking about this government and giving us details of what happened in Pulwama, was the governor of Jammu and Kashmir at a very sensitive time when 370 was withdrawn. The same government which gives film actors and actresses and some filthy directors Z category security has given Mr. Satyapal Malik 1 PSO. Do you not believe that Mr. Satyapal Malik's life could be endangered by the position that he's had? I really think the Prime Minister needs to break his silence. But I do want to say something here with a lot of regret. And I think I have the right to say it because I used to be a part of your fraternity, I used to be a part of media, and I think I have a right to say it. While most of you here in local media, in other towns, are torchbearers of journalism, are still asking the tough questions both to the ruling parties and to the opposition, India's national media is conspicuously silent on this. Have you seen one TV debate on the Pulwama issue? Have you seen one interview of Satyapal Malik on any mainstream media channel or media newspaper? And when we raise this issue in TV debates, there are anchors who turn around and ask us to produce and furnish proof. There are anchors who turn around and tell us that if Mr. Satyapal Malik is telling the truth, why did he not speak then? To my great anchors, to the great editors of India's journalism sitting in Noida television rooms and Noida media, I have only one thing to say. When Ghulam Nabi Azad, and there are multiple instances, you choose to be judge, jury, executioner, you run a trial by media even before the courts decide on the issue. Keep that aside. A recent example, when Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was making all kinds of false, baseless allegations against Rahul Gandhi, and you were queuing up to interview him because he served your agenda and he served the agenda of the ruling BJP. Did you ask him to furnish a single proof for all the nonsense that he said? Did you ask him the question that why did you keep quiet all along? Why did you not speak when you were an MP? And suddenly when you cease to be an MP, you find everything wrong with the Congress? I really think that questions need to be asked of Indian media, questions need to be asked of the Prime Minister, but most of all, the questions are being asked, not just by the opposition anymore, but by the families of these martyrs. These brave hearts, their families, their children, their parents, their wives, their sisters, their friends, their fraternity is asking the question, could we have been saved? Perhaps they could have been alive had the government not acted so arrogantly and in such a high-handed manner. I will only say a last thing, and then of course I'll be open to questions that you may have on this matter and anything else. There was a terror strike that happened in Poonch very recently. A vehicle was attacked. 5 Jawans of the Rashtriya Rifle were gunned down. Pakistan-based PAF took responsibility of it. The Congress party made a statement. Our leadership made a statement. Rahul Gandhi made a statement. My president made a statement. But do you know who did not talk and utter a word about the Poonch attack? India's Prime Minister, India's Home Minister, the Bharatiya Janata Party, the ruling government. Not a word on the Poonch terror attack. And I want to understand why. I want to understand that a Prime Minister who tweets on the broken finger of a cricketer, who tweets to promote a movie, does not find time to talk about brave hearts that die in the line of duty? Is that what this country has come to? Why is Mr. Modi quiet on what happened in Poonch less than 10 days back? That's the question we are asking. Is this because the terrorists who gunned down our brave men were brandishing and flashing American guns bought from Afghanistan, where we continue to allocate budgetary allocations to without recognizing the regime? I don't know. But the question looms large. Days after Poonch, the Prime Minister is conspicuously silent. His party does not utter a word. The Home Minister of this country does not find it important enough to make a message of condolence on the supreme sacrifice of our soldiers. I think these are questions that loom in public domain, and these are questions that should be debated, because this is not about opposition. This is not about Congress versus the BJP. This isn't about Mr. Modi or Mr. Kharge or Mr. Rahul Gandhi. This is about India's armed forces. This is about the supreme sacrifice of our soldiers, one that must and cannot be ridiculed, ignored, and cannot definitely go, the guilty cannot go scot-free. If there are people responsible for this negligence, they need to be brought to book. Thank you. I'll take your questions, please.
As you allege, it's become a habit of the government to conspicuously go silent when questions are asked, and you're saying that the media is not pursuing them. It's becoming difficult to hold them accountable to Parliament. Will the Congress party look for other avenues to raise this issue, for instance, to go to the courts, because as you said, the report has not been published yet, or any other means to, bringing some sort of an investigation or expedite the investigation that is already in progress?
I appreciate your question, and I understand where it's coming from. I understand that a pathetic government that doesn't want to answer any questions, that conspicuously keeps silent on the raging issues of the day, on the most relevant topics of the day, and choose to look the other way, will give rise to these questions. But my friend, we are a political party. And I think the biggest court for us is the court of people, who we try to reach directly when we do mass contact programs like the Bharat Jodo Yatra or election rallies or whatever programs our leaders do. And the other way to reach the court of people is through people like you. And I really strongly urge that you please give this enough space, because this is no longer just the demand of the Congress party. I think this is the demand of those 40 families, and this needs to be investigated. To the larger point that you're making, we are not in government. There is a government that has been elected by people of this country. There's a government that's responsible to Parliament. There's a government that's responsible to the people of this country. But this government is so busy promoting the interests of a chosen few that they actually make a conspiracy, fix a match, do reverse engineering to disqualify the most important man in India's opposition, or the most important voice in India's opposition. And that's how this government works. And which is why we are in the court of people, to show them what this government is up to and what gross irregularities are being committed.
While the government has not directly responded, we are also hearing from certain sections, some allegations about the credibility
I don't think he has gone back on the big statement that he made on the farmers' protest, which is when 700 farmers were martyred and they died in the protest. He told the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister turned around and told him, what am I to do? They have not died for me. He's not gone back on that statement, and the Prime Minister has issued no denial. And if indeed Satyapal Malik is lying, this planting through sources has to stop, because this is a very, very serious matter. This is a matter that concerns India's national security. This is the matter that concerns the supreme sacrifices of our brave hearts. This is a matter that will set the tone and tenor of how movements of armed forces should happen. And if Mr. Satyapal Malik is not telling the truth, then the only right thing for the government to do is come out there and file a defamation suit. Come out there and give an official version. Not plant stories through sources. And definitely not try and silence a man through a CBI summon. You see the script. Anybody who asks questions of this government, you could be a politician, you could be a civil rights activist, you could be a former bureaucrat, you could be a regulator, you could be whoever. You will be snooped upon, your phone will be tapped, Pegasus will be installed, and government's chosen agencies, which have now become frontal agencies of the government, like the ED, the CBI, the income tax, will land at your doorstep. I mean, it did not take the CBI 3 days after Satyapal Malik ji made that statement. If he's lying, let the government come out and say that. If he's lying, the government needs to do one press conference and issue one press release. Mr. Modi doesn't believe in doing press conferences. He can read off the teleprompter, which he does. He has to issue a press release and say that a certain individual is lying. But let me tell you that certain individual was made governor of 4 states by this very government, by Mr. Modi himself. So he is not somebody who doesn't have credibility. He is not somebody who is a lightweight. He is not somebody who can be shunned. He is a senior BJP leader, a man who once enjoyed the complete confidence of Narendra Modi to have complete access to him, to address each other by first names. So I don't think we can rubbish it. And if he is lying, let the government come out and prove it. I don't think there's any better disinfectant than sunshine. Let the government come out and prove.
Not to deviate from this issue, but I want to bring your attention to something that is happening in Tamil Nadu, since you particularly read the social media and digital platform of the Congress. State BJP here released some audio clips which apparently had the voice of Tamil Nadu's Finance Minister, PTR Tyagarajan, making some allegations about the internal functioning of the party. I mean, you on a day-to-day basis take the fight about how their social media carry out such defamatory propaganda and all that. We have seen several instances where they deliberately post something misleading and all that. But Mr. Tyagarajan claims that these are probably deep fakes or made with the help of AI. Based on your understanding of how the BJP's IT media functions, do they have such capabilities? Will they go to such extent to create deepfake videos or audios or edited clips to be released in the public domain?
I say that not just as a national spokesperson or chairperson of Congress's social media and digital platforms. I say that as a former journalist and an informed citizen who has some inkling of how technology works. Bharatiya Janata Party is the biggest fake news factory in the world. They weaponize misinformation, they weaponize fake news, they weaponize content that creates divisiveness in society, they weaponize content that creates communal disharmony, they weaponize content that assassinates reputation. Their entire social media department, their entire IT cell is geared towards maligning reputations, is geared towards perpetrating hatred, is geared towards propagating misinformation. They are the biggest fake news factory in the world. You see how they spread fake news. And it is not just me who's saying this. Their leaders, not just the head of their social media, several of their ministers and several of their MPs have the distinguished honor of being pointed out by social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and the rest for spreading misinformation. Do you know when Twitter launched the misinformation clampdown campaign in India, who was the first person to be called out for spreading misinformation? It was the gentleman who heads the BJP's IT cell. That's how notorious and that's how driven by fake news they are. I'm not surprised at all that an audio in the public domain and our distinguished finance minister here claims this is deep fake. It probably could be. I have no doubt about it. I think the use of technology instead of enabling opportunities for people by the BJP is being misused to propagate misinformation, to malign reputation, all through the Bharat Jodo Yatra. A yatra that got more eyeballs, a yatra that had captured the conscience of our people, a yatra that actually showed this country another way of doing politics. Every single day, the BJP's official handle had one or the other lie about that yatra. They started off by saying that Rahul Gandhi is actually not walking. I mean, the world saw him walk for 25 to 30 kilometers a day. The BJP had the audacity to say it from their official handle. They lied about the shoes that he wears, they lied about his clothes, they lied about what he was eating, they lied about somebody else tying his shoelaces, multiple times being called out. What is this urgent desire? What is this pressing need for the BJP to lie? I believe people only lie when they have nothing substantial to talk about. You have now been in government for 9 years. You have nothing to show for your track record. You have ruined India's economy. You have killed the opportunity for vast population of this country. And now all that you have is a heap of misinformation campaign that you want to weaponize. But I think people of this country realize what they're doing. And I say this with some responsibility. If I'm ever called out for spreading fake news, I will really introspect and not continue doing what they do. Any other questions? Yeah, sure. No, Karnataka is a great election. I've been in Karnataka now for a while. I flew in from Bengaluru this morning. I think Karnataka is an election that is looking very upbeat for us. I think Karnataka is ripe for change. I think Karnataka is sick and tired of the 40% corrupt BJP government. I think the promises that we have made, whether it is the 3,000 rupee per month DA for the graduates unemployed, whether it's 2,000 rupees for homemakers, a 500 rupee cylinder, free bus service for women all across the state, whether it's 200 units of free electricity. The BJP can't come up with promises like these. You have now been in government for 3.5 years. It's very certain that the BJP is losing, and I'll tell you why. Because their statements are, if we do not come to power, Modi ji will stop blessing you. If we do not come to power, there'll be riots in the state. So they've accepted they're not coming to power. They do not understand that Karnataka is the land of Guru Basavaji, Guru Basavanaji, Guru Narayan Guruji. You know, Karnataka has a certain culture. To impose one man's voice, one man's view, one kind of identity, which the BJP tries to do here in Tamil Nadu also, I don't think is going to succeed. I think Karnataka will herald the big change that this country needs and will set the template for every other election that will follow. So I'm very excited about Karnataka, and I'm absolutely certain that we will form a government with complete and full majority. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.